Hello guys, today I will show you my Enel deck that I've been testing for the European Championship in Utrecht. We will also go over some rulings. 81% of you have not subscribed to the channel. Make sure you smash that subscribe button so you don't miss out more awesome content. I'm testing different builds, trying out different cards so I can say that I have a good amount of experience with the deck. First let's start with the reader's effect, then we'll go over the rulings. So Enel reads, opponent's turn, once per turn. When your number of life cards becomes 0, add one card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. Then trash one card from your hand. It seems pretty simple effect, right? And it is. Most of the time. But there are some situations that we will go over now so you can see how the rulings work. Imagine you are at 1 life and your last life is a trigger. Your opponent attacks you and you decide to take it. Before you can use Enel's effect, you have the opportunity to use the trigger first. Even if the trigger is 200 million volts Amaru, Narikabura arrow or something else that gives you 1 life, you still have the opportunity to activate Enel's effect and go to 2 life. So, you are at 1 life and your last life is a trigger with an on play effect. In this scenario you can choose in which order to activate both effects. For example, the last life is a Shirahoshi. After you decide that you will use her trigger and as soon as she hits the field, you can choose the order of both effects. Drawing 3 cards and trashing 2 with Shirahoshi or healing 1 life with Enel's effect. So you can either do it like I did it now or choose to resolve Enel first, heal 1 life and then Shirahoshi, drawing 3 and trashing 2. So at the end you will be with 1 life and 1 card in hand. You are on 1 life and your opponent hits you with a double attack. In this situation, the Enel's effect will activate after the double damage. You will place 1 card from the top of your deck in your life area and it will stay there. Let's get back to the first example. To resolve the effect of Enel, you don't necessarily need to trash a card. Here's what I mean. Your last life is a 200 million volt Amaru and you have exactly 2 cards in hand. When taking this life, you resolve the trigger first, trashing 2 cards from your hand and healing 1 life. Then you resolve the effect of Enel as much as possible, so you heal 1 more life without discarding a card. There seems to be a bug on the sim and some of you may not know what the correct ruling is. You are on 0 life and you have not used the effect of Enel this turn. Your opponent plays 10 cost Big Mom. In this situation you cannot use the effect of Enel to heal 1 life. Now let's start with the deck profile. For Katakuri, this card is very strong and you can use it in a lot of different ways. You can remove an 8 cost or lower problematic character, or you can heal yourself, which is a perfect combination with Enel's effect. I admit it, at the beginning I was playing only 2, but this was a mistake. The correct ratio is 4 for sure. For Yamato, the best card in the deck. It keeps you alive and you want to see as many as possible. I would play 10 if it was allowed. The only problem is that it is not searchable. This is why we play the Shirahoshi, so we can search our endgame cards. The 7 cost Big Mom is a good card in some matchups, but it's not great against Sakazuki. In this matchup I would prefer to have Rush Enel instead, but it's a solid card against any other deck, especially yellow. And here we have it, 2 Rush Enel, probably the best card against Sakazuki. It's very hard for them to remove it. They must have a specific combination of cards to do that, and that's not very likely. I'm thinking about playing 3 of it and removing 1 7 cost Big Mom, because I'm expecting a lot of Sakazuki at Euros. I'm playing the Sky Island build, so Holy is a must. I don't like the Big Mom build of Enel. You must play more cards than don't have counters, and you can only search for the 7 cost and the Katakuri. You cannot play the 10 cost Big Mom in here, so I prefer to play Katakuri than the big man build of Enel. For Om, it's a great card for two reasons. First, 99% of the time it will be at 6k power because you want to be on lower life, so it basically has vanilla stats. Second reason is that on play it searches for Holy and plays a Holy from your hand. Even if you don't find one with this effect, but you have one in hand, you can still play it. You can say it's a better ulti page 1 combo because you don't -1 dome. We move to the 2k counters and I play 10 of them. We start with 4 Satori, it's a searchable 2k counter, a trigger that summons itself, and it has 5k attack. What more would you want? Then we move to 4 Batch, the best trigger ever printed. This card should not exist. It's amazing in this deck because usually you want to stay on 1 life and you heal yourself with leader and Yamato so much that eventually you will hit this card from life and it will win you the game. The last 2k counter is Kone's. She is also searchable with Shura, and sometimes I find myself at a situation where I am at 0 life and no characters on the board, so I play her and bounce her to my life with Katakuri's effect. That way I don't lose the next turn. For of the Sanji blocker, I usually use this card as a beater and not so much as a blocker. But if your opponent is trying to go for game and you hit this from life, well, I have bad news for your opponent. Shirahoshi has only one purpose, to search for our late game cards. And sometimes she can unbrick your hand. Trigedatsu. I am constantly switching between 3 and 4. I feel like when I'm playing 4 I draw it too much, but when I play 3 I don't see it enough. Usually what I will do is cut one Shura for the 4th copy, but I'm not sure that I want to play 4 of it. I have been discussing with my friends how to play this card against Kazuki, and the most obvious option is that on your 3 dawn you don't attack. Then they play a 4 cost Kuzan on their turn. When you are at 5 dawn you just KO it with Gedatsu. But if you are playing against good Sakazuki player, this will almost never happen. They can always play around it, and the current Sakazuki decks are all playing 4 Borsarinos anyway, which cannot be KO'd. We move to the events, to Thunderbolt. No explanation needed, it's just an amazing KO card with an insane trigger. And to Amaru, I feel like it is better than Thunderbolt in this deck, because it's searchable and it gives an attack boost. At one point I was thinking about playing 4 Amaru and no Thunderbolt, but I still have not tested that. Shura is the only searcher, and also you are able to Katakuri it back to your life and gain an extra card. It searches for the main parts of the deck. And finally to Brûlé. I'm not sure that I like this card in the deck. It is only 3 cost and everyone can remove it very easy. Usually it stays in my hand as a 1k counter, but when she is my last life and wins me the game, it is insane. Finally, this is the full deck list. It is definitely the second best deck right now. Tell me in the comments what do you think about it, and see you in the next one. Adios.